Hi guys, welcome back to NCV TV. And today we're doing something a little different. So we're not doing Speak Your Truth. I've been realizing that I've had smaller messages that I want to deliver. And so we're just gonna put this on the regular platform and keep it simple. Today I want to talk a little bit about a notion that has been on my mind. I've been sitting with it, reflecting on it, and it's really about the balancing and interconnectedness of mind, body, and soul. Um, so I guess you could say the whole point of this is to basically just talk about how the alignment of these things, when your mind, your heart, and your soul is aligned, it brings ultimate peace. And so I would like to share some helpful knowledge, information, wisdom, and you apply it to your life how you see fit, or you don't apply it at all because it doesn't fit, and that's okay. So I did write this on my phone. Um, so we're gonna just go back and forth between phone and just my own thought process. So we're gonna start off with the mind. So your mind is not your entire being. It is to be used as a tool. Learn to control it, not it control you. Once balanced, it offers healthy logic and clarity rather than negative self talk. So there's this understanding, and I think we all know it, where we all have our moments where we have the negative side of our mind talk down upon us, but we're also not here to necessarily mute that side. It's more so to acknowledge where that thought process may have stemmed from, understanding why it's populating in our mind a bit so that we can control it better. So, if I'm having a negative thought in my mind, I allow it to just simply be a thought and say, okay, I understand why my brain wants to go straight to anxiety or straight to fear. Um, but that's not realistic unless I want it to be my reality, then that's a whole nother thing. So the more we pour into things like negative self-talk, the more that it becomes our actual projected reality. Next is your heart. Your heart is just as much as part of your being, so it should be used as a compass. Practice discernment to avoid it being taken advantage of or being led down a harder path. um Believe it or not, it is, at least in my eyes, it is a good thing to lead with your heart. I feel like that's where your compassion comes from. That's where your loving parts of yourself come from. And that's the major difference between the mind and the heart. The heart is always going to be so tender and soft with you, but your mind is going to be so like, it's going to be your biggest critic of you. So if you're able to get more of the energy of your heart to balance with the energy of your mind, you can have this nice and healthy, free flowing energy of love, like your thought processes coming from processes, like your love. What? Sorry. If you're able to balance heart and mind a bit more, then you're able to allow yourself to be able to, I guess, coincide both and work in a new thought pattern. Work with a new thought pattern in the sense of, instead of your mind always being negative and a big critic, now your heart can come in and take over and be like, you know what? I don't need to be that hard on myself. Or I can see the situation from this perspective and allow my logical side of my brain to also give its perspective. So it's kind of more like a collaborative joining of forces, and that allows you to operate in a more balanced way. But that's not the only thing. Your mind and your heart are not the only things to balance out in this equation. It is also your intuition, and so your intuition is the deepest layer of your being. Truly, it is your soul's wisdom. It is to be used as a guide. When you become whole and learn to trust yourself, the answers come innately. And so, with that, when your intuition, when you're able to clearly hear your intuition, it comes a point where you understand how to use your mind and your heart plus that intuition all together. You learn how to discern better. You learn how to navigate throughout the world better. You learn how to have healthier relationships with self and others. And I guess I would say that, like, that combination is what helps you find your inner wisdom. Because in reality, the wisdom that you look for within yourself, or maybe you could look for it in a more outwardly way. You could look for it in books, you can look for it in um, shows, you could look for it in your friendships, you could look for it in many different places. But the number one place that will never steer you wrong is your inner world. And so, my point is that in order for you to find this wisdom, you have to be able to have that control over your mind and understand where your mind is taking you. But you also have to have the same type of control with your heart and understand where your heart is taking you, and understand that the heart wants what the heart wants. But when you put them all together and they work together, they lead you to intuition, and when you put all three of those together, now you're having a more balanced state of mind and a more balanced way of living and being. And not everything is just coming from a logical standpoint, and not everything is just coming from an emotional body, but it's coming from your actual inner wisdom. So, when mind, heart, and intuition are balanced and you simultaneously in goodwill, you follow your authentic path. This does not mean challenges no longer exist. Life is meant to be experienced. Therefore, challenges will exist to push you to new heights. It does mean, however, that you find peace, you live in your truth, and honor yourself. So, with challenges is never, I'm sorry to break it to you. Like, finding peace doesn't mean that challenges don't exist. Finding peace does not equate to that. Challenges are set in stone along your journey so that you can be pushed towards betterment. And it's all about your perception on things. So this also goes all the way back to how you control your mind and how you allow your mind to operate. Um, you have to look at challenges in a more positive light and understand that whatever is happening is not, excuse me, whatever is happening is not happening to you, it is happening for you. And it's really about how you choose to handle the situation. So, having that inner peace will allow you to get through the challenges in a more stable, in a more calm manner, so that you are not making rash or extremely risky um, decisions. And that's the other thing. Like, everything requires duality, so everything has an opposite end of the spectrum. So it's the same thing where it's like fear is something that we are, I feel like in this day and age, we're trying to overcome a lot of fear, but fear is still a very good thing. It tells you what you need to work on, and it tells you what direction you need to go, and it can be used as a proper motivator, just as a challenge. And with challenges comes fears, and it's to push us to these new heights. So, yes. Peace also does not mean that chaos does not coincide. Peace is not an escape at all. Oh, sorry to break it to ya. Sorry to break it to ya. Peace is not an escape at all. It is actually, here, let me just put things into perspective. So, I once actually heard this parable of the empty boat, and I was listening to a Zen Buddhism teaching. But this parable actually comes from Taoism. You can do your own research and all of that. It is different from Buddhism, but the parable basically talks about this monk who decided, I need to practice my meditation. However, he's struggling to meditate because all of these external factors just moving around him, making noise around him. He feels like he can't focus, and it's angering him, it's triggering him. So he decides, like, hey, you know what? Whatever. I'm going to take my boat and I'm gonna go in the middle of this body of water because nothing can bother me in the middle of water where nobody is, nothing, like I'm not around anything. So he decides to go and do that, and he's sitting on his boat, and for hours on end, he meditates and he's undisrupted and he is just living in pure bliss in his meditation. But then out of nowhere, something hits his boat and he gets angry because he gets disrupted. So he's like, gets up and he's just like, why, like, are you not paying attention? Like, why would you hit my boat? Da 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 da. And he's looking at the boat. No one is on the boat. And then he realizes, like, I'm silly because I'm sitting here and I want to be angry at someone, but there's just a vacant boat in front of me. And the boat is an inanimate object. So it's not like it intentionally came to hit his boat and disrupt his meditation. It never had the intent of doing that. However, he is projecting his anger outwardly because he feels disrupted, and that's more of an internal issue. And basically, the parable is saying that when you are meditating, it's not about blocking out the noise. It's actually learning to exist with it and learning to be able to still find that peace within. So, peace is simply choosing separation and wholeness all at once. For example, knowing your emotions are valid, but not reacting based off of how you feel. You know that you're angry, you know something made you terribly upset, but you also are understanding of yourself and understanding of your emotions. You validate yourself, but you say, I don't need to react from anger and I can handle it in a better way. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but when anger meets anger, it's just explosive. Nothing comes out of it. So it's actually a waste of energy. But that is not to say that you should not allow yourself to feel your emotions. You can feel your emotions without it becoming part of your behaviors. There's a healthy way to feel those things, acknowledge those things, let them sift through your body, and allow them to be released. So, basically, peace is the ability to sit within chaos, not necessarily block out the noise, but choose to embrace the noise and find serenity within. Peace is to self-protect, have a full heart, and move with grace even when negativity may want to push you in a different direction. And with that said, the reason why I wanted to share this message is because I think people have this idea of what peace should look like, what peace should feel like. However, peace is going to be, how you find peace will be different for every single individual. But peace is not meant to disintegrate chaos. Peace is meant to coexist with all challenges, with all chaos, with all destruction. Peace is just being. Peace is, it's literally that. It's literally an inhale and an exhale. It is a release. Peace is choosing to sit with yourself and not reacting off of every single little thing, whether it comes from internal or external. Peace is how well you truly can hold yourself during the midst of chaos, during the midst of obstacles. Peace is not happiness. Peace is, yeah, peace is just not happiness. And I think people get that very confused. Peace genuinely is peace. Peace is serenity. Peace is calmness. And it's to be able to sit in the fire and not get burned. And I hope you can sit with this message today and find your own peace within it, or start to find what that means for you when it comes to peace. Thank you for staying tuned and listening to this message. I appreciate all you beautiful souls. And until next time, bye. Much love.